Hey everybody, Kris and I have a super fun episode. Well, they're always fun, but this one's extra fun because whenever we have more than one person, it's extra fun. And we have friends on this one. So we have Kale and Scott on the show today because we wanted to talk to them about their super fun adventure that they took in December. What, on December 21st, right? The shortest day of the year is when you guys did it, I think, right?
No,
Ish.
but it's okay. Close
Ish.
enough.
The
Yeah,
Close
13th.
enough.
Oh,
Yeah.
why'd you guys say it was the shortest day of the year?
I think it
Close
was.
days. It was close.
Okay. Well, I'm just going off the info from the video I watched. You're giving me incomplete data. Just joking. So they actually went from Moab to Fruita, which is so cool, 100 miles. And it was quite the adventure. I think they had more of an adventure than they were planning on having as an adventure, but it made it even better. So I started wanting to ask them both a bunch of questions before we started recording, and I was like, hold yourself back. So we're gonna chat with Scott and Kale about all the fun things that they did on their adventure. So thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna try my best to pull a Scott and delete this podcast after we're done, and then just have lost conversation. I'm not gonna do that to you.
I think
Dig.
she's still bitter.
Yeah,
Sounds bitter.
I'm
I
not.
don't remember it. That's how
All
much.
Which
right.
one where I had COVID? I can tell you which one it was. Okay. Fine. I don't want to go
Okay.
back and listen to myself whine anyway. Okay.
All right.
So
Whose idea was this?
yes,
Scott's.
of
Okay,
course.
that's what I thought. Scott, how long had you been thinking of this, or was it just, hey, this would
I
be
just
cool?
you get these wild hairs, man. I probably thought about it for a week or two before, and me
Okay.
and Kale were just on a call. I was like, hey man, I need some kind of adventure. I have an idea. Let me get back to you in a week, and I'll present it. And I did. And he's like, yeah, let's go.
I love
Okay.
it.
He actually came back. He's like, hey, I want to know what the adventure is because I need to set my calendar aside. So
That sounds like
then
Kale.
we put a date in. Yeah. Like
Okay.
just a
That
couple
sounds
months
very
before
Scott
too.
and very Kale. Scott's like, I'm gonna have an idea. Let's go do it tomorrow. And Kale's like, I would like to schedule this and put it in my planner. Thank you for letting me know ahead of time.
I'm very busy,
I know.
Right.
but I want to do it.
Yeah. So I think you guys are like the yin and yang for
Yeah.
each other, except for you both have this adventure and a little bit of competitiveness. And so that I think you guys are a good balance. So when you thought of that you wanted to do something, was it always going to be you and Kale?
Well, it was just gonna be me. But
Oh.
when you anytime you pick these big adventures, you've got to freaking mesh up well. And
Yeah.
there's not many people I'd invite to do this type of stuff. There's just not many people that would want to do something like
Small
this.
list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you got a small list anyway. I mean, I always talk about how my friend list drops every year I get older as far as people who want to do this stuff.
Mhm.
So half the time I'm finding younger people that want to get after it, but me and Kale have very similar goals. And yeah, from the outside it might look like yin and yang, but we're pretty similar, man. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
mean-
it's creepy.
Your list is probably small of people who want to do this stuff, but also the list of people you want to actually be with for that many hours to do something with it. I mean, there's people you can love, but you're like, I'm not doing that with you. Like, there's no way. You just there's no,
Do you
right?
guys have any examples of like times that you did things that with people that weren't a good match or no?
No, I don't.
Yes, but we're not going to go there.
Oh yeah, no, I was just curious.
Yeah. Yeah. You're trying to get something out of us here.
Gosh, don't
Yeah.
make Kris so uncomfy. Talk about people that she's had.
Yeah, everybody can
unfortunate
see that she's red,
situations
right?
with. Yeah.
Well, the joke of it is we've all done like
I know.
even if it's your best friend or your sibling, like those aren't necessarily the best people to go do these things with. It doesn't really matter. And I don't know. I think I started hunting like 5 years ago, and that sport, if you will, is even more. It's even more important to have a good match. You have the wrong person out there in the woods for 5 days. It's in my opinion, it's way harder than any ultra I've ever done. So it's really important to have the right people.
I always think when you watch like Amazing Race, like shows like that, I always tell Matt, I'm like, we would murder each other. There's no way that I could do that with him because it would end poorly. So I get it. I totally get it. So you found people, so that's great.
So who had the planning for this trip? First of all, tell us what the adventure is that you guys did.
Here, I'll set it up for you because I wanted to pull up the kind of thought process when we
started. I'll make you a little hosty host so you can do it.
Well, I'm not going to, I don't necessarily have to share anything, but
okay.
I have a description of, so Kokopelli it's a trail that goes from Loma, Colorado, which is about 5 miles from where I live right now in Fruita, Colorado, which was probably, we'll talk about the end, how we finished this effort. But here, I'll just give you a little description online. Stretching 140 miles with elevations that rise 8,400 feet. This trail is made up of improved roads, four-wheel drive roads, single-track roads. It begins at the Loma boat launch and ends in Moab. The trail is named for Kokopelli, which is the hunchback flute player and fertility symbol in the Native American cultures of the Colorado Plateau. And the fact that it was a fertility symbol, I really wanted to go with Kale to see if it worked. No, just kidding. So
Yes.
no, it's a really popular route out here. It's more mountain bikers do it than foot traffic for sure. And the end, most people come from my end to Moab in the last, we'll say 30 or 40 miles, goes up into the I think it's the San Juans, into this high kind of mountain pass. It goes up to about 9 or 10,000 or something like that.
Cool.
And in December, I didn't want to post hole through snow for hours and hours, and either did Kale. So I wanted to be able to use Kokopelli for a lot of it. And so I just started doing some recon. I went out there a couple of times, and like me and Kale were in communication the whole time. But I live here, so I could go do check it out and see if it was feasible for like dropping aid and being able to have good access, safety aspect, make sure we had decent service at a lot of the spots. I didn't have to bring it in reach or anything like that because we had pretty good service the whole time. And then there's just the first 30 miles was the part I had to figure out. We had to go through Arches National Park and do a lot of route finding. Actually, it ended up being more than we thought there'd be. But yeah, I knew it wasn't gonna be crazy climbs, and Kale's in good shape right now, running wise, and I'm always in decent shape. And that's kind of how it came to be. It's a pretty cool route. Most people mountain bike in a day or two. There's a couple stage races, at least one that I know of that do like a 6-day version of it for runners, and there's some really good videos of that out there. But it's a beautiful place, and I don't know, the winter thing was definitely the X factor for both of us.
Yeah, I did notice that you guys went to the Delicate Arch on your route, which I've done that hike. It's just beautiful. But did that take you off your course? Because I'm trying to picture where you went from there.
Not really. I mean,
no. Oh wow.
So Delicate Arch, what was that, about 15, 16 miles in, Kel?
I think it was just under. It was right over a half, so in between there, 13 to 15.
Yeah. So that was probably the biggest climb the whole day, which wasn't.
Oh wow!
It wasn't a lot of climbing, to be honest with you.
Okay.
The night section, I don't know. That felt like there's some good climbs in there, but we couldn't see anything.
Yeah, you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
So when you guys went into this, like, what was the breakdown of like how much you thought you were gonna hike and walk and run? Like, what were you, or did you have no expectation? Just like getting from point A to point B is what the expectation was.
Well, I wasn't trained up for it. I wasn't training for 100, and jokingly, I told Kel, I was like, hey, like 2 days before, I was like, hey, my longest run in the last 4 months has been like 15 miles. And that was mostly a hike because it was on ice. I was like, I've had so many clients and friends go do these big efforts without specific training. I was just kind of curious how my body would handle it. And Kel was in good shape. And before the event, he just looks at me, he's like, Jones, if I didn't know how mentally tough you were, this would worry me a little bit based on your training. I was like, we'll just go. We'll be all right.
So how much did you run?
What's that?
How much did you guys run?
Not a lot, really. I mean, that was probably my thing on day 2. When we went back out, I'm like, I need to run because that's what my body's used to. I'm like, even if we kind of do some intervals, and so we started doing more of that. But the first day, a lot of it wasn't good terrain for running. The first 5, 6, maybe even 7 miles till we got to the road in Arches. Then we ran the road. And then when we left Delicate Arch, we were blazing trails. Probably, what do you think, for another 15 miles? It feels, I don't know. It felt like it was forever.
So here's how it was laid out. At mile 14 or 15, we had an aid station. It was right at the parking lot of Delicate Arch Trailhead. And that's in the very back of the park. And so we had our aid, took care of a little business. You know what that means, right? We pooped, Carly. We pooped.
10-4,
okay.
got it.
And,
I know what that.
In the bathrooms, though, there was bathrooms.
They were very efficient sessions.
You got down to race weight, is what my husband would say.
Yes, we got to race weight. And then once we left Arches, so we went to go see Arch. It was about half mile out of the way to go see the Arch. We had to come back quarter mile to go start blazing trail, and really quick out of the park you get into BLM, which is just open land. And when I was route finding on the map software that I use. It was using riverbeds as ATV roads. So I was getting us a little bit out of the way based on the estimation. So we had to go mess around a little bit. We were planning on having our next aid station at mile 32, 31. And it ended up being about mile 36 or 37. And because of the route finding, it put us like 4 hours behind our pace or more.
Oh, wow.
So instead of getting to that aid station with 4 or 5 hours of daylight, we got there right when it was getting dark.
Yeah.
And we knew we were kind of SOL right there, but we just kind of took it in stride. It got cold as shit though.
Yeah, that
like
so
the 18 degrees, right? Was your temp?
Yeah, that's the estimation. I think it was colder, honestly, though.
Yeah.
So I noticed on the video there was a lot of bushwhacking. How long did you guys have to do that? Because that would have killed me.
So the route we were it's kind of it's such a unique way to do this thing. Like me and my wife Lauren and my dog Chase and Kale, we went out and dropped aid stations in these like insulated bags that you can get at Walmart, you know?
Yeah, just Walmart bags.
So we put them in there because we thought that'd be better for keeping them warmer and colder and keeping the animals out of the way. So we're just dropping them. We were dropping little streamers so we could find them. And then we get to the hotel around like 2 o'clock, and me and Kale watched like 2 or 3 movies. Like we're so antsy. So we watched like 2 or 3 movies in the hotel. We're just laying on our ass. And we could have easily mentally gotten started then, but so we stay at the hotel, and then literally across the street is this trail, and it's kind of just a gulch. And I think in the summer it might be a little easier to get around, but it was just,
and daylight would help too.
Yeah, that's weird.
We crossed the street at like, we started.
Was it 1 a.m. that you guys left or something?
No, we started like 5.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, Kale, paint a picture of the first 5 or 6 miles and like what our expectation was, and then what actually conspired.
Yeah, I think our expectation was we were just gonna walk up this, what was it, the courthouse gulch or courthouse wash is what it was. Yeah. We figured it's just a washout. We're just gonna walk right up this dry riverbed, and still maintain 3 to 4 miles per hour. And none of that was close to reality, because we kept having to cross, because you're in the dark and all of a sudden you just look up and you have this huge rock cliff. And you're like, okay, we can't go up and over that. So then we'd cross. Some of the crossings were just you jumping over it, but others were really wide. So we'd have to backtrack and find a spot that we could cross. And then just the bushwhacking, because you could see where game had gone through there, but not necessarily humans. Occasionally we'd come across a trail, but there was a few and far between of an actual trail. But just a lot of, I think at that point we just said, it's going to be more adventure than run, and just took it in stride. It was gorgeous. The stars, absolutely amazing. Every time we stopped and looked up, it felt like we were seeing a shooting star. And then I think, what was it? The first 5 miles took us the first 5 miles was up that wash, and then we still had the desert to go across. And then once we got the road, I think it was a little over 3 hours, maybe 3:15 for like 6-7 miles. So we were pretty slow. But it was gorgeous. It was amazing. And we were just kind of there to adventure.
We were on all fours at least 2 times, climbing up like dirt cliffs. It like you're grabbing on the weeds, holding poles for each other. And to get out of the damn thing, there's a beaver dam at the very end of the thing, and we ran into a couple of these, and there was no way to cross safely. Like we would have probably gone through the ice, and neither one of us wanted to get wet. So we backtracked like 50 yards, and we looked straight up, and there's just slick rock. Everything's like red slick sandstone out there. And I was like, all right, let's see if we can get around this stupid thing. So we just climbed straight up this hill. It was probably 35-40 degree pitch. We climbed straight out of it, and when we got to the top of it, we saw like that we could get to the road. So it was kind of relief. But but like on that, even that 5, if I would have picked the wrong person just to do the 5 miles, not even to do the 100, there would have been more bitching and complaining in that first 5 miles than I would have been able to handle. But we were just laughing the whole time. When you get in these little situations, it just gets comical sometimes.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if either one of you in those moments reconsidered and thought, no, we got to Neither one of you did. You both were
No,
like,
the thing that kept running through my head was what Megan would tell me is, I don't like this. I don't like this.
Yeah.
I kept
And I
asking,
was
like, what would Megan do now? He's like,
Yeah.
no, nope.
It was like,
Nope.
the first I don't like this would have been crossing the highway, so right out of the bat.
It was fun. It was, I mean, I just know I've done so many things like this. I just know like the post memory of those types of efforts is
Yeah.
always going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. So when
Yeah.
it was really cold, is that when you knew, like when you guys got 4 hours behind or 5 hours behind and it was so cold, like when did you know, okay, we got to pull the plug, and who made that decision? Like what was the tipping point of being like, okay, nope.
Well, there's two things. Like we both had our issues. Like people are going
Yeah.
down moments at different points, and Kale's
Yes.
calf was kind of
Yeah.
knotting up on him pretty good for a while.
Then it was early on that. Once I wrapped it, it was better. But early, I thought that was going to derail me because it was like mile 10. My
Wow.
calf was giving me a hard time, and we wrapped it at, I wrapped it at 36 or 7.
Yeah.
So, but I was nursing it,
Is
for a
that
long
from the
time.
scrambling, Kale? Like using your calves to get up that, do you think?
Probably in mud and dirt, a lot of sand. So just a lot of calf work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting. I mean, we were out in the high desert, and it probably would be runnable, but there's so much cactus that you can't run with any kind of rhythm because you're going to step on one and then you're dealing with that. So
Yeah.
we were just being really careful. But it was a lot of like straight up and down climbing for hours and hours. Like we were going over loose rock, and we kind of pick another waypoint to get to, and then we had to figure it out again. And it was interesting way finding, but it's freaking gorgeous, man. Like the weather was awesome
During the day.
What was it, like 45, 50 during the day probably?
Yeah, I think it was 45. We were in shorts quite a bit the first
Lovely.
day. Never got to short sleeve, but we'd roll our sleeves up because it just kind of depended on the wind and which way the wind was coming. But it was close to t-shirt weather there on that first day.
so
Yeah,
the
but that's just to
cold,
set it up a little bit for the other question. Go ahead, Kris.
so the cold got you guys because because it took so long to get where you thought you'd be, and so you didn't get to your warm things, right?
Yeah. I mean, it got dark at about 5:15 or so, and I don't know, we were probably mile 54, 55, and my knee was giving me a weird. I tweaked it like a week and a half before we started this thing, and I never told Kale that like if it didn't get better, I wasn't going to be able to start because it would just been a slog. But it started acting up again on that little section, so I wasn't able to move as quick as I wanted to keep as warm as we wanted, and it's hard to run at night, man.
Yeah.
And there's a point he was cramping from the cold, like his
like my traps.
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah, from being so
so we didn't have our layers, man. Our layers were like 10 or 15 miles away.
Yeah.
We both almost at the same time said, hey, like we can easily suffer through this, but is this the experience we want? And we were just like, let's get Evangeline out here. She was going to be our support. She came out and met us on some middle of nowhere dirt road, and we sat down like, all right, we're good for now. So we went home.
Yeah.
She was texting me when she had texted me that she was going to run the night with you guys and she was on her way. And then I got a text, I should pull it up, that you guys pulled the plug for now, but you were going back out. And so she was going to go back out and meet up with you guys. So I was all in and fascinated by this. So she was keeping me up to date on everything. I was shocked, number one, that you guys couldn't go on, but I definitely understood it. And then it did not surprise me at all that you were going back out there to finish it. Yeah.
Well, we both, like, I don't know. We were talking about it when we were out there. Like, I let him know. I was like, my identity has nothing to do with these efforts. Like, there's only like 3 people who even know we're doing this thing. I like to keep these efforts kind of to myself and just go see what I can do. And I was like, if we gotta pull it right now, we gotta pull it. But we didn't actually. I don't know. We went back. We were up till 4 a.m. Our dumbasses got up at like 6 or 7, so we only had a couple hours of sleep just from being antsy. And we went and had a big old breakfast. Came back. We're watching football all day and slept decently that night. Got up, and me and Kale were going to go grab all the aid stations from the previous day, so we wouldn't leave all that stuff out there. And right before we went, Lauren's like, "You guys need to go do the rest." We're like, "Okay." It was literally that quick.
Love Lauren. Love her.
So
I said it was she did that wife voodoo stuff where she just mentions it, and we're like, okay, yeah, we'll do that.
But then, so then we had to go set up a little more aid, and then I was like, all right, if we do this, we have to start. We have
At
to
1 a.m.
start at the same time that we finished. So we started at 1 a.m. So we went to
Got
bed
it.
at 9.
That's where the 1 a.m. was. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went to bed at 9 o'clock at night and got up
Tried
at
to.
11. Got up at 11 and went back out there. Lauren drove me and her, and then Evangeline's crazy, but came back. She's 2.5 hour drive from here. She drove all the way back to come do this
Oh
with us,
my
which is freaking awesome.
gosh.
She wanted to
saved
do
us.
more. She wanted to do more than the mileage she had previously done, which was a 50K. And that was her, she wanted to get more mileage. She thought that would be a cool thing to accomplish. So one
Well,
of the
oh,
sorry,
sorry.
go.
I was say she get a kick out of this because she's like, yeah, I just want to do more than 50K. I was like, well, we got 44 miles tomorrow, Angeline. Let's I knew she didn't want to do 44, but I just kept saying it. So she was like, she had to do it. She had to do it. It's funny.
And she sent me your guys's like what you the route and the pace. You guys were kicking butt. I mean, you were
on day 2.
Yeah, you were holding.
Yeah, we were steady on that day. I think being warm was a big part because it was still, I mean, it was still cold when we went out, but I don't know if you guys saw that picture of Scott, and I looked like the Michelin Man, and you know, Scott had a bunch of layers, and Evangeline, you know, her face was really, she got really red because of the cold.
She looked cold in the pictures for sure.
Yeah. Well, couple things. One thing I like that you said, Scott, was that your identity is not wrapped up in these adventures, which I think a lot of people need to keep that in check. You know, we tend to get a little too wrapped up into this stuff defining us. You know, we got to really keep that. And another thing I noticed, Kale, was when you had posted something when you stopped, but it wasn't negative. It was, I don't remember exactly what you said, but it had such a positive, inspiring feel to it. Like, well, we're going back out there. We don't quit. I just loved it. I loved the way it felt when you posted that. And I was like, oh, you go, guys. It made me happy. Yeah, I was.
Well, I think that's probably where Scott and I really are one and the same, is that you do these hard efforts to find out more about yourself, but they don't define you.
Yeah.
And, you know, through that process, the mental resolve and strength that you get from it just translates for whatever you're doing, whether it's, you know, parenting or life or business or sport or going back to the trail. And it's pretty, and you also, you know, you have more gratitude because you do those hard things. One of the things I told Scott when we were out there, I said, you know, I always think when we're out here in the middle of the desert, I might be the only person in the world that's ever stepped in this spot. He's like, I always think that same thing.
I was thinking that, Kale, because I was thinking of Mark Watney in The Martian, and there's a line in there where he talks about how, like, first person that's ever walked here. Granted, that's a movie, but I was thinking that when you guys were talking about bushwhacking through that stuff, I was like, just think you guys were probably the first person that, like, in a bajillion years that have walked in that very exact spot, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Carly, how long have you been waiting to quote your favorite movie?
God, I was sitting here just dying, and then he brought it back for me. He circled it back so that I could just put it out there.
I can't tell you how many times she texts me, watching The Martian again.
Is that the Matt Damon?
I've never even heard of that movie.
What?
I've not seen it either, Kale. We should have a viewing party.
Yeah, sorry.
It's very good. And Matt Damon is the lead, and it's very good. You need to watch it.
Okay, it's worth it if Matt Damon's in it.
Yeah, it's good, and it's really good. It's based off a book, so it's not. It's good. It's so good. Anyway,
I like it. I saw it. We're good.
Thank you, Scott. Way to go. Way to be.
So
I mean, it looked like Mars out there half the time. So
I was gonna say with the red wall. I mean, I'm sure it looked like that too. Yeah.
All right. So you guys got the last 44 miles done. You got it done. What was your favorite part of this adventure for each of you? When you think
I like hanging out. I like hanging out with people who want to do this, man. Like I can see I can see a good view every day of my life because I've been blessed enough to be in this awesome place. So, you know, I'll go on a run today in a really pretty place because it's here, you know? But the ability to go do it with somebody who you really like and respect and who you become good friends with. And I would put Evangeline in that boat as well. And
yeah,
I don't know, a couple of there's favorite moments that just kind of come up that you remember when you start talking. I love pushing the power hiking pace because I'm a pretty good hiker. When I know that it's pushing other people around me, like that's kind of fun. Because I mean, Evangeline hadn't done this type of distance, and I don't know if she had this assumption or not, but she probably thought we'd be a little down on energy when we went out there. And me and Kale were freaking hungry, dude. We just wanted to get going.
Yeah.
So we pushed her really good. It was fun to push Evangeline and see her kind of reach some new milestones for herself. And I think from a mindset standpoint, she probably learned a little bit from both of us. I mean, we got 10 or 15 years on her, age wise and experience wise. And I thought it was cool to see her kind of grow a little bit. And then that second day, the sunrises are the best because some warm weather's coming.
So cool.
Like that's just so rejuvenating. And finally, when we were able, we set up some intervals for running for a while. So really, I wanted to run a lot too on the second day because 100 miles without being trained, you can go mess yourself up pretty good if you go push too hard. But for 40 some miles, I knew I could do that any day of the week, and it was nice to open it up a little bit and push. And then the one thing that was really funny, all three of us, we're like a bunch of women living in the same house. We all got on the same pee cycle.
Even
dude,
wow,
dude, literally through the night and during the day too, but really through the night, I bet you that we peed every 25 to 30 minutes on a timer. But the best part was we'd all turn our headlamps off when we took our little break. And I swear I probably saw a shooting star 90% of my pee breaks. And that's just when you stopped to look up for 40 seconds.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome. I love that part. It was really cool.
I mean, you guys are so lucky that you live in like some beautiful places. I mean, like, not that Kris and I don't love where we live, but I mean, like where each of you live where there's just an adventure right out your back door where her and I have to like, struggle to go find it. You're so blessed that you have that. And it's so cool that you recognize that, but you still like take it one thing further and be like, I want to do this with people. I can do this on my own, but I'd rather do it with somebody else or other people to make the experience that much cooler and have these stories to tell my kids someday and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I was gonna say, Kel, what were some of your
I think it is hard when you go on these efforts because you do have extreme ups and downs, and being able to manage that and recognize when you're in those moments and not be a drain on the other person. And I think we both did a really good job on that because you're going to have those moments, but it's rare that you can go do things that lack of sleep and just you can let your mind go crazy out there, right? Of all the things that could happen, and that's the things that people that have never done these things immediately say to you: are you scared of animals? Are you scared of this? Or are you going to get lost or whatever? But being on an adventure like that, and your energy is actually feeding off of each other in a positive way. So I think that's awesome. And Evangeline, she kept dismissing what she was doing because we'd done some miles a couple days before, but we're like, dude, what you're doing is amazing. She saved our butt in a couple ways, and then signed up to come back out. I texted her and she's like, okay, let me check. I'm checking on childcare, and how many people can you say that to you that we were going to do an event, we pulled the plug, now we're back on, and she's all in right away. That was pretty cool. And she did get a little bit like, I don't know, almost rummy, like laughing and giggling. It was like she was with her two older brothers and we were just giving her the hardest time. And it was pretty fun. So just those little moments, those interactions, right? And we try to make her like uncomfortable too about I asked Scott if he was going to draw me a bath when we got back, and he's like, only if I can sit in it with you. So we were always trying to make her uncomfortable too, but I don't think at least she didn't show it. So that made it even better that we could kind of give her a hard time. And
well, she has some low moments, and Evangeline wears her emotions on her sleeve pretty well, and we could sense it, and we always spoke like I remember this one time she was just a little bit behind us for a while instead of right next to us because we got on some single track, and you could just feel her energy behind you drop a little bit. And I was just like, Evangeline, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I'm not cut out for this, or I'm not made for this. These other people are like, every single person who comes out to these things when they're in a low moment has that inclination. I was like, it's not true. Ignore that sentiment. And like, she came back and said that that really mattered because you
I was
just,
gonna say it. That's a lot of people need that sort of like encouragement in very hard situations like that.
yeah. And she just kept battling. Like we
Yeah.
pushed the pace a little bit on that second day and started
Yeah,
running
we did.
longer sections. And she, every once in a while, we weren't trying to lose her by any means, but we wanted to see if she could keep pushing.
Yeah.
And she was fine, man. It's going to really serve her well in some of her other efforts she's got coming up.
I think
No, go ahead.
another favorite moment was just the sunrise on day one because of where we were.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
we just got to the
awesome.
road, and the sun came over the San Juans, and it was like right in between. Just beautiful view, and then it started to go off the red rocks, and I mean, it was just the beauty of Arches is just amazing, and you go on these hikes in the summer, and there's so many people. I mean, we were like some of the only people in this national park.
Isn't that crazy?
That's
You
wild.
know. And
Oh,
just
dude,
to have
wait!
that place.
I just had a flashback. The interaction with Nick.
I thought of that, but I didn't. I was like, those are. Yeah, we had a lot of inappropriate jokes with Nick.
Nick.
I always
who's
call
Nick?
him Magic Stick because I can't say his last name.
Nick and Madeline. Nick was in.
Oh
Adam's
yeah.
husband,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's
So
who
he-
popped in my mind, but I wasn't sure.
He's just a fun buddy to like throw some jokes out. But okay, you're in Arches, right? Every other rock looks like a giant penis. Let's be honest. Okay, so
It does. You're right.
Explicit.
so we sent. I think Kale sent a video to him. Nick's a
Yes, I
teacher.
sent him a video.
He's a high school teacher, so we're not cussing. We're not
Yeah.
being that inappropriate. We're not making actual perverted jokes or anything. But he just says, "Hey, look at all these cock rocks" or something like that.
Yeah.
And Nick texts back. He's like, "Oh my gosh." He's like, "I saw the beginning of the video and I knew that I had to turn the volume down because I'm in the classroom." So we were cracking up about that forever.
You guys
And I thought
definitely.
about that after the fact, but I was like, well, he knows where it's coming from and what we're doing.
Oh yeah. I laughed at your video, Kale, where you were putting out some of the drop bags, and Scott had you going through what was in the bag, and you're like, "Oh, sandwich, blah blah, blah. Double stuffed Oreos." Not just saying Oreos. He's like double stuffed Oreos, like getting
Those
real
were clutch.
specific. I laughed so hard. I was like, "Well, somebody's excited about the double stuffed Oreos." But did you guys lose any of your bags, or you found them all? You knew where they were.
Yeah, we found
we
it.
Okay.
found them.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another thing that we did. Like this is good to talk about because I would forget half the stuff, but hardly ever like we weren't listening to music or anything. But there's a song we both like, that Oliver Anthony song, Richmond or whatever, and we both like it. And I was like, all right, I played it at some point in the first day, and we both like, oh, that's a nice little boost. I was like, all right, this is our like magic potion.
Power
Anytime we
song.
need a boost, we're gonna play a song or two. And then we ended up listening to like 90s country for like an hour and a
The
half in
90s
the middle of the
country
night.
is good. That's
Oh,
some
that's
good
great.
country.
Get some Garth
we-
Brooks in there.
I don't think I've ever done that on a big effort with somebody, like just blare music for there's nobody
How-
within hundreds of miles.
How long were you guys out there? Like total time? How long were you out there?
I mean, combined between the 2 days is 33, 34, somewhere in there.
That's a long time.
It's a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That's great. And you're better friends now than you were before?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, I love
day.
that. It's your guys' relationship. Kale, I mean, we met you, it wasn't that long ago in 2021, in September of 2021. And look how your life has changed. And you and Scott have become pretty tight buds. And I mean, look what you've done. I'm sure you do. You recognize how things have evolved. That's really cool. It
really is. Yeah. Cause we were all there, at that trail camp too.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was an awesome time.
So is there another adventure planned for you two? Or are you thinking something else? You're going to keep this going? Maybe a yearly adventure?
I think we'll always do adventures. We're working on some fun business stuff together, actually. So we're doing he came down to Costa Rica last year, and he does a lot of leadership development stuff with his business, and with my background in coaching, we're putting together like these leadership retreats. So we're gonna do one in Costa Rica in October. So that'll be really fun. So yeah, that'll be fun. And there'll always be adventures. I mean, we both talk about, and I'm sure Carly, you're maybe in the same boat. Kris, you're a little bit past this on this, but like making sure that we set ourselves up for when our
Yeah.
kids are out of the house so that we have people that want to go do cool things still. So you're
Mhm.
not just kind of like sitting there with your wife trying to, my wife's very
Yeah.
adventurous too, and she'll do all the stuff, and so is his, but you just want to be around people that have the
Yeah.
same goals long term too.
I love it because Garrett's gone. I now have, the freedom and more money to do the things I want. I literally have something planned every month so far, except for October and November. And then I'm thinking about adding a couple things in. I'm really trying to find somebody who wants to and I may just do it by myself, just do the rim to rim in a day in October. I don't want to make a
You
big
need to
deal.
come to Javelina in October.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about
Scott
that.
said he might go.
You could do both.
Oh, so I could do both if I could do rim to rim in Javelina.
Oh yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
I may have to do that.
Have Kale plan it for you. It sounds perfect. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really great idea actually, because I would like to go to Javelina and do that. And if I could do both, that would be perfect. But anyway, it's a good point when your kids are gone and you have a healthy body and people in your life to do fun things with. It doesn't have to be running, just to be out and enjoying doing cool things. It's a great space to be. So I want you guys to all have that.
Well, and I love that like these guys talked about like doing things for yourself. Like I think there's two very distinct people. There are people that do this stuff because they want to show it off on social media and tell people how great they are. And then there's people that do it for themselves. It's like an intrinsic thing to make themselves feel better and feel, like it's for themselves, and you're not there out there to prove anything to anybody but yourself. And I think that's a great way to look at it. I think that's extends your ability to do that kind of stuff. It's because you're doing it for yourself and not because of external forces or whatever. So I think that's a great lesson for everybody.
But when you do share your things on social media, though, it is very inspiring. You have to remember that.
Because it's like meaning you're sharing it because of your experience and you want to share that experience, not because you're trying to like show off or you're trying to get something else out of it. I think it's very obvious what people's intentions are when they share that kind of stuff, for sure.
Yeah. I think we all have a love-hate with all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
Like without the internet, I wouldn't know any of you guys. And so many of the cool relationships I've had over the years have been because of this stupid internet.
I know.
But yeah, you got to take the good with the bad for sure.
I wanted to add one thing on that topic is that, I think as so many of us don't reach our full potential, and sometimes we need those people to show us that are common people, right? We all have jobs, we all have families, we're juggling it. We have the same 24 hours every single day as anybody. It doesn't matter what resources you have or you don't have. And I think it's important that sometimes you just gotta challenge yourself. And sometimes when we see somebody else doing it that we feel a connection with somehow, some way, it's like, hey, that person's like me. It can drive us to go do those things. And I think about it too, is like, I remember this a couple of years ago. And it was probably one of the reasons I went on the first trail camps was, you want your kids to do certain things a certain way, right? And we all know that modeling that behavior is more impactful than telling them, and I look at, the work that our youngest and our oldest in two different ways are putting in the work. One, college, super smart, going to be an eye doctor, but he's so self-motivated, and it's, sometimes we don't realize that example we're setting and what the impact is. And there's nothing greater than seeing what we're able to do and how it pushes other people to make it feel normal that I can be a high achiever and put the work in. And that's really where the reward is. I always say the reward is on the other side of the suck. It's like you go through hard things and you push yourself and you come out the other side and you have those memories and those bonds. And it really, that's what I love about this platform is if we can get more people to just let go of the ego, just go up, do the work, fail, who cares? I mean, when I went to Telluride a couple of years ago, I knew I was like, never been that high. I knew it was going to be a stretch and I failed. I remember Scott, he's like, dude, don't let it define you. I'm like, you know what? I don't even care. I mean, I care that I didn't finish, but it's not going to affect who I am or how I move forward after this day. It's probably going to drive me more.
I think we can all agree the failure is in not trying.
Yes.
Oh yeah, always.
And
100.
Cal, I had the same experience when I thought I was going to climb La Plata. I got so sick, it just didn't happen. But
Mhm.
I was fine. I'm like, it's fine. I'm fine. I'll go climb in Boulder where I won't get sick and I'll be happy and it'll be awesome. And, I'll, whatever. Anyway, but, yeah, so I think that is really a good way to think about everything. You have to try.
Mhm.
I'm wondering, do you guys get a feeling about an adventure when you think of something, like a certain feeling where okay, I got to do this, or is there a gut instinct with different things?
I mean, I get obsessed with ideas for sure. I mean, it goes from business ideas. I've gotten better at like holding back on that, just doing everything that I think of.
Yeah.
But for like physical efforts, like if I can think of something that scares me just a little bit, like I mean, that's how this whole thing came about. I started looking at maps and then I'm getting obsessed with it, and it's in an off season of sorts, and yeah, I just kind of fixate on these things. I mean, I'm thinking of a couple other ones that are in my head right now that are pretty big, and I don't know. What about you, Cal?
Yeah, I mean, we've already kicked a couple of ideas around. I mean, there's um so to answer one of your questions earlier, I think making it an annual process of some sort,
Mhm.
and it doesn't have to be annual. It can be it can be whatever. But just making a commitment to showing up and having epic experiences, and the memories. You're really making memories.
Yep.
That and the nice thing is, in this day and age, we can document so much of it by a YouTube video. And I go back and look at that, and every time I watch that video, there's something else I pick up that in the moment I didn't see, or when I first watched the video. And Scott says it all the time, but we can be sitting in our rocking chairs. Hopefully I'm 90 years old one day and grandkids, and I pull that up, and it'll be like, what, type thing.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
there's a long tail off of these efforts. Like you said, like modeling for your kids is
Yeah.
how you get them to change behavior. It's not by telling them. If it was by
Right.
telling them, then their effing room would be clean right now. Like,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
clean. So it's just crazy. Like when I get done with the 100, like I literally finished out front of our house.
Yeah.
I grabbed the broom. I was sweeping the driveway within 30 seconds of finishing because I didn't want to sit down anytime soon. And the kids, like they want to see you at the end of it, but they're not gonna. You're just their dad, man. They're not gonna give you rah rah. But when they're
Mhm.
17 or 18 and they're going through a hard time, they're gonna remember things that
Yeah.
their parents did, and especially when hopefully I'll have grandkids one day and they're looking at their grandpa thinking of all the cool, because I think of all the cool stuff my grandparents did, and it definitely changes who you are.
I'm on a little bit of a different side of things than you guys, because when I started doing these cool things, my son was a little bit older, but I have seen the impact it has on other people in my life, and the way they talk to me, and the way they like introduce me to other people, or people like at the bank, they featured me in our bank newsletter, and as an inspiring person. At the gym I go to, I just got voted member of the month, and they said it's because of your enthusiasm and your commitment. But I see the way my friends who want to do hard things, what they're doing now, and I see the impact, and like this whole big circle I have around me now, and it makes me so happy. That, I mean, to me, it changes you, and what you put out there affects other people, and it's all good. And Scott, how does that make you feel? Because really, we are all here because of our connection to you and what you started.
Yeah, it feels good. I mean,
That's all you're gonna get from him.
I've also attracted some people who aren't as cool, so it's like
With the bad, Scott, the good with the bad.
So I don't know. I feel like it's a positive thing. I'm never going to get rich off of this project, and everything has its struggles, but I think one of my big skills is bringing people together, so I'm going to keep doing that.
I 100% agree. I think one of your big skills, though, is making people see that they can do things that they've never done before, and they're not used to doing that. At least is what you did for me. So I appreciate
I think
that.
that's in the job description of coach. I mean, if you're not empowering your athletes to look outside of what they think they can do, I mean, that whole idea of limiting yourself based on your beliefs is about as dumb as it gets, because that's not objective. That's, you know, you bring all your baggage and your thoughts about yourself, whether it's from when you're a little kid and failures you've had, like those are not valid thoughts that people have. Yeah, you argue for people and they get defensive. I don't know how many arguments I've had with people telling them that they can do something and them arguing me how bad they are. So I'm like, this is the biggest waste of time in an argument that you could possibly have. But we all do it. We do it in our work. We do it in our families. We do it with family members and friends. Like, it's a weird thing. So finding people who are open to the idea that they can do bigger things is really cool.
Well, is there anything that you want to talk about that's up and coming that you got going on? And I there's a couple things I want to talk to you about, Kale, that I know you've got going on. So
yeah, well, first of all, Adventure Leadership Retreats, that's the project me and Kale are working on.
Okay.
I have one trail camp out here in May. It comes with a half marathon entry with Jim and I, which is an awesome race group. They're just acquired by UTMB too, so it's awesome to see. This is going to be counter culture of all the people bitching about UTMB, but these are RDs that worked their butt off for 10 years to build it to where it is, and now they're getting resources and help that they need to actually grow the thing, because it's really hard to grow. I've put on 130 events in my career. They're awesome people. It's still local, so we're doing some stuff with UTMB through Becoming Ultra too, just on the content end of things, and kind of keeping people passionate about these races. And the best thing for a race is to know that's going to be around in 10 or 15 years, so that more and more people can experience them. So those partnerships will be cool. Still coaching, of course. And I just launched a new concept for Becoming Ultra. It's based off of the retreats, but a little bit more intense version of a retreat. So more like a training camp.
Cool.
Same type of thing, but it's for people who just want to get after it the whole time they come out. So a lot of gym work, strength training, trails, still technique.
Less beer and wine. Is that what you're saying?
It depends on the person. Depends on the person.
Is this in Fruita?
Yeah, well, I'll launch it out here because I have gym space here to utilize.
And Becoming Ultra, how's that going this season with the runners?
Yeah, runners are great, man. We got a great group this year.
Yeah,
we didn't have as many entries as usual for whatever reason. There's no formula to this stuff, but the people who we got are really, really cool, and they're working their butts off, and they're all progressing at a pretty good rate. So
really good at posting. Lots of good stuff that they share.
Yeah, definitely. So Kale, the YouTube channel, tell us about this.
So in conjunction with the leadership retreats, just trying to build that brand awareness of what we're trying to do. Went down to Costa Rica last year on a trail camp, and I've been doing leadership development for about 7 years, and have a freight brokerage that I run, and just I bring a coaching mindset to business and leadership. I always say that business is the ultimate team sport, because really it is. And I just love seeing people achieve more than they ever thought possible. The thing, and I'll give Megan credit for this, because she's said this long before I did, is the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And if we can get through our mind of like just how to work and how to show up and how to, sometimes it's just, I tell people it's just the thoughts we tell ourselves every day, right? If we tell ourselves we're no good, we're going to believe that at some point. So that's kind of a long-winded, but leadership retreats, we have that going in Costa Rica. We've got a solid group already signed up. So we're able to build and expand on that. And then just posting content on the YouTube channel, more just little stuff that we're doing, whether it's workouts or mindset stuff. That's kind of boring according to the views, because when I put our dog on there, everybody watches that and you get all kinds of views. It's a little bit of our life really too, but it's more about the mindset of just how to approach life, with a positive mindset and get the most out of it, because we're only here for a limited time.
I love that.
Wait till you post this, Kale. It's going to skyrocket.
Right, I know.
I love that though, because that positive mindset is such a life-changing thing. And it's a practice for sure. And you're gearing up for your 100-miler, which is when?
So I have 100K first. So we're gonna go to Sedona. I'm gonna just do the 21-miler there.
Oh, me too.
So that's 2 weeks before Me Walk. So I'll do Me Walk 100K. And the nice thing about that is we've been out there the last 2 years to support Fulmar, and then Muriel, and then Caitlin was nice enough to do a course for us. So we've probably been on a good portion of the race course. So it's going to feel very familiar. And we were out there the year we were supporting Fulmar. I think we did 15, 20 miles that
Just
day.
watching.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm getting in such good shape because I'm going to pace him for the last 13 miles, and I know what I paced Fulmar for the last 13.
Uh-oh, Kale.
I know.
And I can't freaking wait. Like
I know.
I was in her ear for whatever 2.5 hours. I'm going to be in his ear for. It's going to be a different intensity. So that's going to be so freaking fun, Kale.
Kale's going to be ready for you.
I'm going to be fresh. He's going to be at mile 50. This is going to be wild.
I know. Be
Oh,
careful
you know
what I
what?
wish for.
I will say, I wanted to talk about the end of our little run. So
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
We get to the trailhead. Lauren's there. She actually brought the dog out and spent 4 or 5 miles with us, which was cool because then you could couple up. She was talking to Evangeline a bunch and blah blah blah. So we get to the parking lot, and me and Kale are like, we have 5 or 6 miles to get to the house to finish the 44 for the second day. My legs felt great on the second day. Knee didn't bother me at all. I used poles for a lot of it. Blah blah blah. Evangeline just disappears. She decided she's gonna get 40 in, and I wanted her to drive during daylight because she was gonna be really tired and everything. But she disappears. Like we didn't even get to say goodbye to her. She just left to her 40. And so, but here's what we have. We have a bike path, like a pavement bike path for the last 5 or 6 miles, which if you're on trail, it's the inverse. This is the inverse of how you want to finish pounding all day long. So I look at Cal, I was like, well, you up for some intervals? He's like, sure. So we do 1 to 2s where we run hard for 1 minute and we walk for 2. And it's like, all right, that's too easy. Let's flip it. So we did 2 to 1s. And Kel will never know what I'm thinking. I'll never know what he's thinking because we know how our energy affects each other and how you want to keep it positive. But for me, the 2 to 1s are pretty tough. Like we were what felt like hammering for a while. And then at one point I was like, all right, we're gonna do like 2 more 2 to 1s, and then we got to run like 1 mile steady at the end, just to put a steady effort in because we don't have to deal with technical stuff anymore. So I think we ran like I don't know 9:30 or 10 minute mile. I forget what it was. But it was fun to like do something different at the end of like a 2-day, 30+ hour effort, just to prove that you still have so much freaking left in the tank. It was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Way to go. Way to put an exclamation point at the end of it.
Yeah. Right. So Scott, before that, he asked me, he's like, before we were doing this, he's like, do you think you can do a 10-minute mile? I was like, yeah, right now. He's like, 9 minutes. I go, yeah. He goes, 8. I go, what kind of terrain? And he's like, pavement downhill. I go, probably so. And then that was the conversation before we started that process. So, but it's just fun.
What a cool adventure.
Yeah, and it's during football season. We're both sports nuts, so we got to recover sitting on our ass watching football for half a day.
I like the energy between you two. I really think what you're trying to do with the leadership thing, I really think that's going to be good. I think you guys I think you guys were supposed to be friends and supposed to inspire people in this way. And it's all about.
It's going to get mushy. Watch out.
I'm trying not to. It's all about what you're putting out into the world, though. I mean, I just have a really good feeling about this. Really good feeling. I know what kind of people you guys are, though. So,
thank you.
Thanks, Kris.
I'm rooting for you.
We'll do another. You need to do another adventure. We'll come on here and talk about it, and it will be fantastic.
Invite us. Just kidding.
we should have some stories after me walk. That should
Scott's like, I'm not taking those 2 whiny bitches with me on any sort of adventure. Hell no.
Carly goes, Kris will get, because I know both of you guys really well. Kris will get into some dark moments, but she'll still keep it pretty positive, even though when she's dark. Mm-hmm. Carly goes freaking scorched earth, dude. She's burning it down. Like after Smith Rock, when she said she'll never run again, or how stupid. But then I think Carly signed up for 100 milers, so we're about to go scorch the desert in Arizona.
I could change my mind.
No, you can't.
It's gonna be, and we're gonna keep her positive. We're gonna keep her up. It'll be awesome. So, well, thank you guys.
Thanks, guys. This is so fun. This is a good little hump day, like just fun thing to get. I was like, oh goodness, I get to talk to friends. That'll make my day a million times better. And ironically, my headache's gone right now, so maybe this is exactly what I needed. So thanks, guys. You guys did it for me.
It was awesome talking to you guys. And for the record, I think Kel and Megan celebrate hump day on Monday and Friday. So enjoy it.
Oh my God, I'm stopping this recording right now.